Western games don't come around that often. Apart from a few indie games, the market has been dry. To be honest, it never really flourished. Sure, there have been standout games from time to time, but it's never really caught on. Maybe that's because Wild West properties aren't very lucrative. Maybe it's because the era was rife with sensitive issues like the Indian Wars and the Chinese Exclusion Act. Or perhaps it's because Rockstar set a very high bar with a little game called Red Dead Redemption. Believe it or not, Red Dead Redemption was not the first Red Dead game. If you saw the initial reaction to Red Dead Redemption 2's trailer, then you probably noticed a few people taking issue with the title. Technically, the first game in this series is Red Dead Revolver. In order to do this history of video justice, we need to turn back the clocks to the early 2000s. Red Dead Revolver was originally produced by Capcom and developed by Angel Studios as a spiritual successor to the arcade game Gunsmoke. The game was announced in 2002, and a campy, over-the-top trailer was shown at E3 that year. There are even some shots of cowboys flying around a battlefield and enemies labeled as wizards. But that game never saw the light of day. After its initial reveal, the project went quiet. This was allegedly due to development issues. Red Dead Revolver was unplayable and lacked a clear direction. Capcom decided to cancel Red Dead Revolver about a year after it was announced. But hope was not lost. Rockstar's parent company Take-Two acquired Angel Studios for $28 million in cash and renamed the studio Rockstar San Diego. Angel Studios and Rockstar already had a good relationship leading up to the acquisition. Most notably, the two studios worked together on Smuggler's Run and Midnight Club, both of which debuted in 2000. Shortly after Rockstar purchased Angel Studios, executives reviewed its projects. Most were tossed out, but one game caught the eye of Dan Houser, Rockstar's creative director. That game was Red Dead Revolver. Despite the game's troubled development, Rockstar gave San Diego the go-ahead, and development picked up once again. On May 4th, 2004, Red Dead Revolver released on Xbox and PlayStation 2. Although the game appears to share a lot of the same assets as the Capcom-produced version, you can see Rockstar's influence on the final release. While still arcadey, the game was more mature and put a strong emphasis on the narrative. You play as Red Harlow, a Clint Eastwood type seeking revenge after bandits killed his family. Throughout the course of your journey, you hunt outlaws and track down the man who murdered your parents. The story hasn't aged well. The pacing is off, most of the characters are two-dimensional, and the quality of voice acting varies.
I'm gonna make mincemeat out of you!
However, it does have that Rockstar feel. It deals with greed, criticizes the American dream, and of course, it's bloody. Revolver had a very different structure than what would follow it. Rather than an open world, it was a linear third-person cover-based shooter. Missions either fed you through narrow passageways or dropped you in a small arena to fight off waves of enemies, eventually leading to a spongy boss fight. In between these missions, you could visit a town called Brimstone, which acted as a hub area. You could speak to different characters, visit shops, pick up bounties, and hang out in the saloon. It was a nice touch that added a bit of character to the game. While in Brimstone, you could purchase new maps and characters for the multiplayer mode and journal entries that filled in a bit of the backstory. There wasn't anything particularly unique with its gameplay, apart from the Deadeye mechanic. Deadeye allowed you to slow time, paint targets with red circles, and unleash a flurry of bullets. It's a fitting but shallow touch for a Western game. All in all, Red Dead Revolver is your standard PS2-era third-person shooter. GameSpot gave it a 7.3, saying it has some great style and enough fun to justify the rough edges. Rather than crafting something unique with its Western setting, Red Dead Revolver is more like a greatest hits of classic Western films. Set pieces and characters felt as though they were pulled from classics like The Good, Bad, and the Ugly and The Wild Bunch. While it had some fun moments, it didn't give you the freedom some yearned for with a Western game. A year later, Neversoft, the developers behind the Tony Hawk series, tried to fill that void with a game called Gun.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
Gun promised to be that open-world cowboy experience fans of the genre were hoping for. However, the story was brief, and once you completed it, there wasn't much to do. Neversoft gave us a taste of an open-world game, but ultimately fell short. Meanwhile, Rockstar put the Red Dead IP on the back burner, and Rockstar San Diego shifted its efforts to the Midnight Club series. Well, kind of. Development for the Fallout began in 2005, 1 year after Revolver released. But this time, Rockstar San Diego set its expectations higher. Much higher. The team set out to make an atmospheric Western game with a believable open-world setting. That game was called Red Dead Redemption. Rockstar would use the Rage engine, the same one used for Grand Theft Auto 4 and Rockstar's Table Tennis. But due to the game's large open areas, the team needed to tweak the engine to fit the direction of the project. The development team consisted of 800 members spanning the globe, and it was estimated to cost $80 to $100 million, making it one of the most expensive games ever made. Despite all its resources, Red Dead Redemption's development wasn't without its fair share of obstacles. For one, the map was huge and seamless. Redemption wasn't confined to a city like GTA 4. This meant that draw distances needed to be greatly improved. On top of that, the team needed to find ways to make these large expanses interesting. The world needed to be filled with mystery, points of interest, and things to do. However, as production continued, more and more issues began to spring up. In January 2009, just 5 months before the game was scheduled to release, Engadget broke a story about Redemption's troubled state. One source even said it was a complete disaster for most of 2009 and previous. It has since turned around a little bit, but there are huge problems with it still. It wasn't until 2016 that more light was shed on the situation. Former Rockstar North president Leslie Benzies filed a $150 million lawsuit against Rockstar's parent company Take-Two after he was allegedly forced out. During the lawsuit, his legal team was trying to prove how vital he was in the production of Red Dead Redemption. According to the story, Sam Houser emailed Leslie Benzies in 2009 asking for his assistance, saying that Red Dead Redemption is a recurring nightmare, and begging Benzies to help the game get back on track. Rockstar San Diego seemed to lack a clear direction and desperately needed someone with oversight and strong managerial skills. Despite all these issues, Red Dead Redemption was only delayed once for a few weeks. On May 18, 2010, Red Dead Redemption was released on Xbox 360 and PS3 and was met with overwhelming praise. Red Harlow was replaced with the much more complex and nuanced John Marston. After walking away from his gang, Marston must kill or capture his old partner Bill Williamson in order to clear his name. Unfortunately, this thrusts him back into the world he tried to escape. Once again, this game plays with the expectations of the American dream and the dangers of capitalism while exploring themes such as greed, technology, violence, and expansionism.
Well, I, for one, am grateful, Mrs. Bush, that they are finally bringing civilization to this savage land.
I could not agree with you more, my dear. My daddy settled this land, and I know he'll be looking down on us, pleased at how we help the natives.
Yes, they've lost their land, but they've gained access to heaven.
Despite its obvious influences, Redemption crafted an epic story of its own. Unlike Revolver, Redemption took cues from modern Western media like The Unforgiven and Deadwood. There's even an area in the game named after Daniel Plainview, the protagonist of There Will Be Blood. This resulted in a far more complex narrative than its predecessor.
What's going on here?
I got me one of them Williamson boys.
I got me one of them idiots who give marshals a bad name.
Jonah, put your gun down.
Characters had motivations, there was no clear delineation between good and evil unless you count Marston's undercooked morality meter, and there were very few characters you could trust. However, these characters are all still so memorable, like the well-spoken con artist Nigel West Dickens and the grave-robbing junkie Seth. And all of this built up to arguably one of the best endings in a video game.
Bill, I've come for you! Bill, Bill Williamson! Come out here right now!
Redemption was also one of Rockstar's first open-world games to really get its shooting mechanics right. Holding down the trigger halfway allowed you to free aim, and holding it down all the way let you soft lock onto targets. It wasn't perfect, but it felt much better than GTA 4. Rockstar later refined these same shooting mechanics in Max Payne 3 and GTA 5. And let's not forget about the lasso and this game's almost too real physics engine.
Get over here!
Rockstar got a lot right with Red Dead Redemption, but its setting and atmosphere proved to be one of its most impressive feats. Spanning the barren deserts of Mexico to the snow-covered peaks of the US, you were free to roam a beautiful, realistic recreation of the West accompanied by a fantastic soundtrack.
Into the skin. Can't believe the state you're in. It's so far away. It's so far away. Who are you trying to impress?
You could hunt bounties, cheat at poker, break horses, hunt wildlife, and duel other outlaws. Rockstar gave players the tools to live out their Wild West fantasies. You could even carry out these fantasies online with Red Dead Redemption's multiplayer component. It was just as ambitious as the single player, allowing you to form gangs with other players and roam the world, completing bounty missions and hunting down other players. This mode accrued a respectable following, but there was a lot to be desired. The world was a bit empty and progression felt tedious. There was certainly something special about it, but Red Dead Redemption Online didn't quite live up to the expertly crafted and masterfully written single player mode.
Well, you know, we've lived here for 30 years now. Came here from the east. The land had never been settled. For 10 years, we fought the Indians. Tough men. And we had outlaws, and we had drought, and we had smallpox, terrible winters, cholera. I buried more of my children than I raised.
Sorry to hear that, sir.
I've seen strong men wither and die under that unforgiving sun. That whole herds of cattle take sick and die. But I've never once doubted my life here.
No, sir.
Rockstar wasn't quite ready to move on from Red Dead Redemption. Less than a year after it came out, Rockstar released Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare just in time for Halloween. The world was given a sinister makeover, and John Marston was back to find a cure for his zombified wife. For the most part, Red Dead Redemption took itself seriously, but within seconds, Rockstar paints a very different picture with Undead Nightmare.
After months away, John Marston has returned to his loved ones, while trying to rebuild his ranch and win back the trust of his family.
It paid homage to campy B horror films. The DLC also added new weapons and the rad horses of the apocalypse. Players were tasked with defending different settlements and clearing out zombie infestations in order to unlock new missions and progress through the story. To no one's surprise, Undead Nightmare was met with critical acclaim as well. The gameplay loop did get repetitive after a while, asking you to return to settlements often to protect them from zombies, but the lengthy story and refreshing setting was more than enough to return to that world.
Damn dogs going crazy and wolves howling and birds flying.
Well, it's just the storm, John.
Over the next couple years, Rockstar continued to support the game with DLC for Redemption's multiplayer, but once it ran its course, the team moved over to other projects. Until 2014, Rockstar released a game every year. In 2011, we got L.A. Noire, an open-world detective game set in the 1940s, and in 2012, it resurrected Max Payne with Max Payne 3. And finally, in 2013, the highly anticipated Grand Theft Auto V hit shelves, and in 2014, it came to Xbox One and PS4. Just recently, Take-Two revealed that GTA 5 has sold over 90 million copies. Since then, Rockstar hasn't released another game. Instead, they've been supporting GTA Online with constant updates. Though GTA Online continues to be a huge success, many fans missed Rockstar's high-quality single-player content. But the developer was silent. In 2015 and 2016, rumors started to spread that Rockstar was working on a follow-up to Red Dead Redemption, something they neither confirmed nor denied. That is until October 18th, 2016. Rockstar revealed that there was indeed a Red Dead Redemption 2 and followed the announcement with a trailer a few days later.
When the time comes, you gotta run and don't look back. This is over.
The game was scheduled to release in fall 2017, but as you know, that didn't happen. The game got delayed until spring 2018. To make up for it, Rockstar gave us a flashy new trailer and introduced us to the new playable character, Arthur Morgan. Unfortunately, Red Dead Redemption 2 missed its spring release window and is now scheduled for October 26, 2018. We don't know much about Redemption's sequel, but it will take place around the same time as the first and feature familiar characters like Dutch and possibly Bill Williamson. All we can do now is wait, but considering Rockstar's track record, I don't think we have much to worry about. Though the series had a rough start with Red Dead Revolver, Red Dead Redemption set a precedent for not only all Rockstar games moving forward, but all open world games. It took the open world formula that Rockstar itself pioneered and pushed it to the next level. They built a highly detailed, handcrafted open world that felt alive. It told a deep, complex story with the confidence and style of some of the best film directors. And of course, it laid down the foundation for Rockstar's most ambitious and successful game to date. For Red Dead Redemption 2 to push the boundaries as much as its predecessor is a big ask. But if there's any developer that can pull it off, it's Rockstar.